I don't think growing up I really ever put those two words in the same sentence. I grew up religious, was never a particularly great fan of it. So I found a lot more freedom in discovering a form of spirituality that's more internal, that's more about connecting to myself. So doing that also helped me understand sexuality as something that it is just like a part of life. And for me, life really loves to explore itself. It loves to express itself. And sex is one way it does just that. A challenging thing about sex, I think, is that it helps you see yourself for what you are, and that can be the beauty of who you are, but also the pain that you carry inside. And as someone with a lot of trauma, exploring my sexuality was quite a challenging experience, and I was really surprised by what I learned about myself. While I don't consider myself a beacon of empowerment by any means, I do think that it's enriched my life in a lot of beautiful ways. I've assembled a circle of women from different walks of life for this film, and I hope that by giving voice to their stories about sex, we can begin to redefine what it really is and open up a greater sense of what is possible.
I've always been the person that if somebody wanted to know something about sexuality or sex, I was the person that they came to and asked. And I'd be happy to answer the questions. But as soon as my system started asking to study Tantra, I was like, no, no, no. And I knew on some level it was because I had stuff to heal. And I just didn't know if I wanted to.
Because of the early abuse I had was sexual abuse. And so um, that darkness and that going in was terribly frightening. I fought it.
Towards the end of filming Queef, I was sexually assaulted by my classmate and friend. And it absolutely shattered my confidence and any like sense of empowerment that I had around sex. I came from a sexually abusive stepfather, and because it was so young, I was like 4 years old, there was a pattern. So I'd get abused in high school and in my 20s, my 30s.
When I told my foster parents that her father had sexually assaulted me and had been molesting me for years, uh, I still have it in my head, like crystal clear, like a movie, of her looking me dead in the face and telling me that I was an attention-seeking little whore. It makes you feel less than human, like in a really disorienting and disassociative kind of way.
It was like a year later, and I looked up and I realized, holy shit, it's been a year since this thing happened. And I have PTSD, and I still think about it like it was yesterday. And just that realization, I was like, I have to take my power back from this situation.
I had a lot of trauma sexually. So that was another impediment for me. So I had to work for about 3 years in really go deep and healing myself so that I don't have resistance to sex.
Turned off all phones and electronics and all this stuff. I just put some music on, and for 5 to 6 hours, I would just focus on my own healing. And I would listen to my body and go, what do you need now? That was when the trauma really started releasing from my body. Oh my God, it was a lot of anger, a lot of rage. For a while, I feel like I sexually identified as angry. My sexuality is pissed off. Like, don't touch me, don't look at me, don't smell me, don't tell me I'm pretty. I was mad. I was fucking furious. And sometimes you just have to you have to give into it. You have to feel those things.
But really, when we go deep into any trauma, we get to our vulnerability. Sometimes what we call like being weak, but it is not weak, it's just we are so sensitive perhaps that then we go into feeling sadness, feeling grief, feeling unsafe. Sometimes it's covered up with, angry attitude or resistance, or this or that, but it's because we are protecting something that hurts inside.
But I think allowing myself to feel those feelings, I finally was able to get to a place where I was ready to like date again.
And then my second relationship was actually with an older man. He builds BDSM furniture as a side hobby. What a hell of a side hobby. And that relationship was extremely healing for me because he gave me a container to really see myself as being worthy of care and consideration.
I found empowerment in being able to say no, or being able to say yes when I wanted to.
Any time that I would say stop, immediately stop. Not even like, not a question, not a are you sure, stop. And he gave me a lot of my power back.
To be able to, in my marriage, have an intimacy that I don't feel bad about, that instead I'm able to feel that beauty of being one with my partner, I feel is life-changing. The opportunity to heal and transform, I feel is precious. To be able to embrace our sexuality, our bodies, and be comfortable and confident, of course, brings a lot of empowerment.
It's changed what intimacy is, changed what connection is. I've had the most profound experiences without our genitals even touching, with clothes on.
There's been times in my life when I'm not having sex for a while, and yet I feel so alive and so juicy and so turned on. And that has nothing to do with a partner being on the other side of me. It's being alive.
Well, and then it's also the way you move, and it's the way you connect to your heart and connect to other people's hearts and feel them and feel yourself. It's nourished everything in my whole entire being.
I see sex work and sort of engaging in sex work as a way for people to experience themselves as whole beings and to liberate themselves from shame and guilt and from, the social repression of their wants and desires and feelings. And when you have a space that allows you to sort of be free, eventually that starts to trickle into other parts of your life.
I realize also some people think that this is kind of a strange, sacred sexuality. What is that? How can sexuality be sacred? When we connect with the divine, we have bliss. So with sexuality, it's almost like a bridge into that. It's a way so that we can really feel that amazing experience, that we are not in our minds thinking of problems, but instead we are one with all that is, and we expand ourselves.
So when we follow Eros, we follow this life force within us that wants to express, that wants to engage, that wants to be fully alive. And if we take it right to the act of sex, you're engaging in sex with deep passion. Your body's alive. You're connecting with the other. You're not pushing away the feelings that are happening. Oftentimes when that happens, we cry. It's so beautiful.
When you touch someone, when you caress someone, like even like the smallest like caress on somebody's face or back can have like this really like deep impact on someone. And I think that's really beautiful. And I think if you're going to put it in spiritual terms, I think that's a gift from God.
Once you connect to that spiritual side and know that spirit and sexuality is one in and of itself, why, it's like, why would you ever go back?